million budget, and so much more. Born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts, she's a 3-time graduate from BPU University and holds a Bachelor of Business Administration, Masters of Business Administration, and Masters of Nonprofit Management and Philanthropy. So, here we go, guys.
Thank you. So, how's everybody doing today? Good. So, that little mini bio doesn't tell not even a fraction of the story, but she needed a mini bio, so I sent it to her. So, I'm going to drink some water because my throat is parched. So, my name is Jasmine Naylor, and I am the founder and CEO of Jasmine Naylor Enterprise. And what Jasmine Naylor Enterprise is me helping people. Hello, it's me helping people with life and business strategy. Okay. So, I'm going to start off with a story. Most of us probably can relate to it in some way, shape, or form. We go through high school, and our parents tell us we're going to be the first to go to college. We go to college, we get the financial aid figured out. Typically, we follow where the numbers say that we should go. The package that has the least amount of zeros on it. We go to college, we do our 4 years, and they go by just as fast as the 4 high school years when we were talking about going to college. And before we know it, we're leaving college and we're talking about what are we going to do after college. Well, our parents told us that we're going to get a good job, we're going to make sure that we make good money, and we're going to climb the ranks and become important people in important high places. But the one thing that they forgot to tell us was, what do you do once you make it into these particular spaces? The problem is they couldn't tell us what we could do in these spaces because they never went to those spaces. So they did the best that they could, and they invested the best that they had into us at that moment, hoping that we would be their legacy. But the problem is, to have a legacy is more than just sending someone to college. Once you get that job, you got to know what to do with it. Once you know what to do with it, you got to know what to do with it to go even further than where it could have been. So you're going to end up interacting with a whole lot of money along the way. But that money, most of the time, is going to come right through your hands like liquid gold. It's going to feel like it isn't coming in fast enough, and it just seems like it keeps disappearing. And the only thing you can think about is when the next pay raise is going to come. Because the next raise is going to be better than the last raise. And you just know that you're going to get it right this time. You're going to have more than enough this time. But the next raise comes, and it's still not enough. And then you say, well, next year it's going to be better. So you go get those raises, and you get 2% one year, you get 5% another year, you get 10% another year. You jump careers, you get 15% somewhere else, and you get 20% even somewhere else. But the problem is the money still feels like liquid gold. Because every time you got a raise, you found a way to spend that raise. You got a new car every few years because you got a raise. What do you do when you get a raise? You spend it. Nobody told you about 401ks. Nobody told you about a savings. Nobody told you that don't forget you want to buy yourself a house. You don't want to rent forever. If you live in New York City, you're realizing that gentrification is real. And it is better to be the head than the tail. But mom couldn't tell you this because you were first generation. You were first generation to go to college, first generation to fill out that FAFSA, first generation to even own a home if you consider to own a home. So, you're in your career, you're trying to do the things that you think you're supposed to do in that career at the moment you're supposed to do it. You're climbing mountains, you're buying houses, you're buying cars, you're buying shoes, you're buying vacation, you're buying experiences. You're looking for someone to marry, or maybe you stay single or not. It's your decision. You may have children, you may not have children, but all you know is the expenses keep climbing. Every year it seems like it's getting a little bit more expensive to live. But we can all go back and say, well, what really happened was that we didn't know what to do with what was put in our hands. And here we are today. Most of you are thinking about what you're going to do when you graduate from college. You're thinking about how to get a good job. But the problem is, once you get to that cusp and the panic sets in, you're going to probably take a job that's going to pay you less than you deserve or that you're valued at, because nobody taught you how to negotiate. Nobody taught you to stand for what you want. Nobody taught you how to say no. That's not enough. I need more. I'm worth more. Here's the value that I bring to the table. And because of that, most of us won't leave a legacy. We think we leave a legacy because our parents thought they left a legacy because they let us go to college. They encouraged they had, and they didn't have many of them. And they thought that that was going to be enough, but it's not. You actually have to do more than just go to college to leave a legacy. In your parents' eyes, they left the legacy that was their legacy to leave. That was getting you to the next level. And your job is to get to the level thereafter and the one after that and get your children to that next level and your children's children to the next level. And that requires a legacy of financial wealth. Now, if we look at statistics, it says that when you look at net worth of African Americans, they have a net worth of approximately $11,000. Hispanic and Latinos, which we know is not a race, but we know it's a classification, it's an ethnicity, as we just heard in the last segment. Your wealth is approximately about $13,000, compared to your Caucasian counterparts, which they have wealth of about $140,000. There's a big disparity there, and there's a whole lot of reasons why the disparities exist. But one thing that doesn't exist anymore is that you got an education and you can do something different with it. You can get those jobs, you can keep those jobs, you can make new jobs. Because who says you have to stay working for somebody else? Part of the legacy is that your parents put in you more than you even realize that you have. And sometimes they put so much in you, they don't even know that they put it in you. And then when you start bucking some of the old traditions that they put in you, and they start looking at you like, who are you? What do you mean you're going to leave your job? What do you mean you're going to open a business? I didn't send you to college to go open a business. I sent you to college to be the president, to be the vice president, to be the manager, to be the supervisor, because they couldn't see further, because they didn't make it to the level that you made it. And when you made it to that level, you saw just a little bit higher and just a little bit further than they could see. And that's the design. But you've got to manage and steward the resources that come through your hands starting now. Because nobody's going to teach you. You've already been through however many years of school, and nobody's taught you yet, right? Nobody's taught you what loan to take, what loan not to take, what credit card to take, what credit card not to take. Nobody's talking to you about buying houses today. Nobody's talking to you about keeping your credit clean. Nobody's talking to you about that stuff. Because those are legacy conversations. Legacy leaders know how to have those conversations. People without that type of financial legacy don't know how to have it. They don't know what the best loan to buy a house with is. They don't know what credit card you should get or what credit card you shouldn't get. They think if they say 10% off at TJ Maxx that you need to take that right now because that $10 is a lot of money. But it's really not. You got to be wise. You got to steward your resources appropriately. But before you can steward your resources, an important thing for you to figure out is, do you know your number? The title of this is, Can I Have Your Number? Now, I'm not going to ask you what your number is, because that's a personal thing, and because probably nobody's really asked you what your number was. Nobody asked me. I only started asking myself this year. I was like that little story that I said. I climbed the ranks. My mother told me I needed to go to college because that was going to be her legacy. I made it to college. I got out of college. I took the first job that offered me a position. I didn't negotiate. I put my head down. I worked hard. I climbed the ranks. I got recruited to another company. I became a vice president at the age of 30. I made 6 figures well before I was the age of 30 because I invested in different properties. I've been making 2 times over 6 figures for over 10 years. But if nobody teaches you how to manage that money, 10 years will go by and you won't have any of it left. And then most people are aiming to leave a legacy, to have security, to have freedom, to be debt-free, to take vacations, to be able to see and raise the kids that they birth. Because as I said, life keeps getting more expensive. It doesn't get cheaper as you go. And what you will find is that you're going to get in the same rat race, and unless you do something different, you're going to end up with the same outcome. You're going to be burned out, stressed out, don't know who your kids are, someone else is raising them for you, and at the end of 40, 50 years of working hard, you're not going to have enough to make ends meet until the day you die. Unless you decide to do something different today and something different now. So I'm going to ask you, most of us have cell phones. Does everybody even have a cell phone or a piece of paper? You can even mentally think of it in your head. I want to know what your number is. But you're going to answer what your number is to yourself, and I'll tell you what that means, what your number is. What I'm talking about is not what you're looking to make in a salary every year, right? Because most of us, if we already have jobs, we're gonna say, I wish I could make 5-10% more than I make today. Next year, I hope that my raise is this or that, or at least if I can sustain, or the expenses can stay, I'll be good. No, what's your legacy number? Not how much you wanna die with, not how much you wanna leave to your kids. What's the number you're striving for right now that would be more than enough? Your comfort level, plus, what are you striving for? Now, I want you all to write down what that number is for you. What is your legacy number? And again, nobody's going to see this number, so you can be very honest with yourself. I ask you to be honest with yourself, because I'm going to ask you a little bit later another question that goes along with the first question that I asked. And I'm not going to look at your information, and nobody else is going to look at your information. And it's okay if you're feeling a little under pressure of being asked this question, because you probably never got asked it before. And you haven't really put much thought into it. So you're trying to calculate in your head, what is a good number, how many, multiply that by how many years, and maybe 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you know, you're doing some computation. There's no right or wrong answer. We just want you to get the thought going of what is your number. Now, I'll tell you what my number is, but after you're all done, because I don't want to, you know, mess up anybody's number. Because again, we don't want to start comparing numbers, because your number is your number. Give me an eye if you're all done. All right. So I did this activity around April of this year. So that was the first time I ever did it. You know, I had plenty of conversations. The goal was always just make more, make more, make more. The more I made, the more expenses I had, the more expenses I had, the more I tried to make. So I sat down and I started thinking, well, what is the legacy that I want to leave? Is it that I'm the vice president, the chief executive vice president of Caring Health Center? Because if I died tomorrow, nobody would remember that I was the chief executive vice president. So that's really not a legacy, because that, if I die, that ends right there with it. People stop talking about you relatively quickly after you die. They don't talk about what you did, they just talk about how great you were as a person, not where you worked. So that's really wasn't my legacy. Then you look at your kids and you say, you know, they're supposed to be my legacy. Well, they don't carry my last name, I carry my husband's last name, so, you know, that kind of goes with him. That legacy is like his legacy, not necessarily my legacy. I might have raised them good, they'll talk about me that way, but that's really not my legacy. That's not the legacy I want to leave. So I started thinking about, well, what does it mean to me? Money doesn't have emotions. You can make as much of it or as little bit as you want. People that know how to make money know how true that statement is. People that aren't used to having money think that that statement's a lie. I've been on both sides of the fence. I know what it's like to be extremely poor. I know what it's like to have the saltine crackers in the refrigerator with the mayonnaise, and that was the best little sandwich that you could imagine. I loved it. Drank syrup out of the refrigerator, teen mom, multiple times over. I ended up becoming a teen mom. You know, I've been on low-income housing, I've been on welfare, I've been on food stamps, mass health. You know, I've run the gamut. Yes, I've run the gamut. And I came from that. So there was a time when I was repeating the same cycle that I came out of as a kid. And then I had to do something different. I had a little bit more tenacity. I had a little bit more resilience than some other people in my family were able to muster up. Not that they wouldn't have wanted to. They just couldn't. They did the best they could with what they had. So back in about April, I'm thinking about what's my legacy number? And in thinking about that number, I wrote a number down. And then I got scared of my number. Because I thought I wasn't worthy of that number that I put down. And I don't know if I really believed that I actually could hit the number. So some of you might have put numbers down and you don't know if you really believe that number. And some of you might have put numbers down and you don't know if you're confident enough to believe that you could actually make it happen. But as I said, money doesn't have feelings, right? You can have as much of it as you want or as least of it as you want. It's just tapping into a certain type of realm. Money exists in a certain realm. When you have an overflow, do you ever notice how a lot of people with a lot of money keep making more money? And they keep amassing more and more and more? That's because they're operating in a space where money isn't their ruler. They know how to create it, they know how to generate it, they know how to multiply it, you know, all those great things. It's like, it becomes a competition against themselves to generate money. But when you don't have any, it ain't a competition. It's a survival. You're trying to live. You're trying to make it to the next stage. And that's a reality, but many of us get stuck in that stage. Not that we have to be in that stage, because many of you are gonna leave here, you're gonna make more money than your parents ever made. But you're gonna spend it just as fast as they spent the least amount that they had. Unless we turn the tide, which is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to help people to build legacies, and you gotta start thinking about it now. So the number I put in my paper was, I put a 3-year number and I put a 5-year number. My 3-year number was $3 million. Now I'm someone that money isn't my motivator, but it's something that I'm extremely gifted with. I know how to manage it, I know how to multiply it, I know how not to let it rule me. I wear a chief title, I drive a Hyundai Elantra. You know, when I got my job, everybody told me what I should be driving, what I should be wearing, what I should be spending my money on, where I should be going. They wanted me to turn my money into liquid gold. The same way they saw everybody else do that might have looked like them. But I didn't want to do that. I said specifically, I don't want my title to dictate how people receive me by seeing the luxuries that I wear, or the luxuries that I drive, or the luxury places that I'm going to. I want me to be me. My identity is not my job. Because if I die tomorrow, they're going to replace me the next week. That's not my legacy. Yes. So I put $3 million down, and then I got really nervous about that number. I looked at it, and I said, ooh, is that really my number? Is that really my number? Then I put my 5-year, I think I put $5 million, but I put 3 numbers. I put 3 years, 3, 5 years, 5, and I don't know if I said 7. It might have been 720. So that's 20 million. Now those numbers sound scary, don't they? They sound real scary. So I have worked with money all through my career, starting at United Technologies. So I used to work with hundreds of millions of dollars, right? They were just on a computer screen. But they were real. They counted up and they got reported out. We were an X billion-dollar company, and you manage X $100 million, or you manage X billion dollars. Responsible for these big customer relationships that spend massive amounts of money. So in my head, I knew that the number is just a number, that it doesn't have feelings, but we bring the feelings to it based on our lived experiences, or the experiences that we haven't lived yet. So I put those numbers down, and I realized that I could have those numbers if I wanted them. The company I work for now is a $25 million company, and I'm a part of helping that company make that money. So why couldn't I have my own company making that money? What stops me from doing that? The only thing that stops me is my belief in myself that I can do it. Because your next business idea is already within you. So I believe that every woman and man has a legacy within them. And what I'm doing is helping people draw that legacy out. So I help people make big leaps into new careers, leave careers that are sucking the life out of them, start new businesses, figure out what the next steps of the business are, get their first sales, figure out their finances, figure out budgeting in their personal life, because what you will find out is if you can't get your personal house in order, you're not going to get a business house in order. And if you're going to be a business owner, you need to know how to balance both worlds. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm helping people take that shift, make that particular shift. So what I'm going to ask you now is, with the statement of each of you have a legacy within you that is waiting to come out. Knowing the number that you just put down, if I re-ask you the question of what your number is, write what you would write now. And it can change. Don't feel bad if your number changes. Again, nobody's looking at your stuff. It's only you. It's you and your numbers. I'm sharing my little information, but nobody's going to see your stuff. So I'm assuming many of you wrote down a number that was better than the last number. Can I get a nod in your head? I don't need to know your number, but, right? And that's what I do. I help people shift. I help people give that extra bit of confidence that they need to know that whatever it is that they're dreaming of, it can be a reality. that you can turn your business dreams into business money. And that you can really leave that legacy, leave that security, find that freedom, have those vacations, leave that impact that you want to leave on the community. For me, my biggest legacy that I want to leave is impact. The vacations don't matter to me. Yes, they're nice, and yes, you need them. I was just telling my husband that I don't know if it's me, but I was just on vacation in July, and I feel like it's been 6 months since my last vacation. And I was like, now I see why wealthy people are always on 4-day trips over the weekends to here and there, because when you're operating at a higher level, you're using more of your soul and your spirit, and you need to rejuvenate at a more frequent pace, because you're not drawing things out. So, hopefully soon I'll be going on a vacation soon. So, being right here, right now, in this moment for me is also part of my legacy. Because I'm looking for women and men. Now, I chose to work with women as my particular market for very particular reasons. But everything that I teach applies to both demographics. I just choose to work with women. And to be truth be told as to why I'm working with women too, because some of the men that have come my way, I don't want to be hit on. That's not my area. I'm already married. I already got kids. I don't need any of that. I don't want to navigate that space. I don't want to figure out what the language I'm supposed to say or what I'm not supposed to say, because there's a lot of perversion in the world, and I just want to stay away from it. And you'd be surprised as businesswomen what you got to deal with. Like I just heard a joke the other day where I was at with some big wigs, and you know, it's a different world in certain dynamics. It's a different world. And I don't necessarily got my bag filled with ammunition as to how to repel and how to block, and you know, so I'm just going to stay away from that. Unless the Lord says something different for me. For now, that's going to be my demographic. So now you got a little insight into things. So, a big thing that I deal with also in my work is fear versus confidence. Now, fear is a real thing. I deal with fear. You'd be surprised. Like, I was like so anxious today. Like, I was super anxious today to come before you and speak. It's a natural thing, right? You got an inner critic. Your inner critic doesn't stop talking to you when you make more money. It keeps going. It keeps going about everything. Unless you learn how to silence it, unless you learn how to turn it off, unless you learn how to, send it somewhere else. So I deal with women with that a lot. And many times they've got everything that it takes to do everything that they want to do. They just need an extra push and a little bit of strategy, a little bit of planning, and a little bit of accountability. And these women are opening up businesses left and right. In fact, I just got another call yesterday, and I bumped into someone else on Thursday. And so my niche is women in business, because that's all I'm attracting, is women that are looking to make a jump into business, or women that have these business ideas that they just need a little bit more support and encouragement, and they know my background is in business. So that just gives you a little bit about the business. So I told you, for me, vacations and luxuries, those don't drive me. When you begin to get into the marketplace, for those of you that are not there yet, and you begin to go work for these other companies, and you're going to be their employees, you're going to experience the ability to purchase things that you never purchased before. You're going to be able to purchase these cars, purchase these houses, purchase these animals. You might purchase some exotic ones. You're going to be able to purchase goods that you never purchased before. And what you're going to come to find out is that after you purchase everything that you thought that you needed to be fulfilled and to have peace was a mirage. Because peace and fulfillment don't come from luxuries and vacations. And that's where most people are spending their money, in food. Food is number one. Food is the big thing. If I probably looked at most of your budgets and I see, where your money's going, you probably don't even know you got a hole in your pocket for food.
Speaking of food, I have to go pick up the food.
Yes. Go get that food. So you gotta be careful what you're doing with your money, because in order to leave a legacy, you gotta have more left over than what you're spending on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis. And you gotta figure out what is driving you. And most people think that the next thing is the thing that's driving them. So we live in a very marketable society. There's 52 weeks in a year, and I've come to find out there's apparently 52 seasons in the year as well. And I say that because every time I watch TV, I'm being told that I'm not wearing the right thing for this particular week. The new ads are coming out and it's saying that I should be wearing deep green. I just saw a Gap commercial, I think, and it was telling me that I need to have a green suit. Next week it's going to tell me that I need to be going to a gala and I need a ball gown. The week after that it's going to be telling me that I need to be thinking about spring because spring is right on the corner and then the snowflake hasn't even fallen yet. Then I'm going to see commercials for coats, and every week I need to get another coat. I need a pea coat, I need a puffer coat, I need a jacket. It's going to tell me all these things. So all day you're being bombarded about how you're not perfect already. How you don't have what you need right now for the future that you're trying to build or for your right now. It's telling you, it's planting little seeds of insecurity. That the clothes that you have aren't good enough, that the shoes that are on your feet aren't trendy enough, that you're never, and it's telling you that you're never going to be trendy enough because the trends keep changing every week. And then you keep dishing out your money. And you chase the trends, you chase the vacations, you chase the food, and before you know it, then we get an upside down budget. We get us putting more money out than money coming in. We go and get credit cards, and we lock ourselves to debt. We got our student loans already, and many of us think that our student loans are going to be with us for the rest of our lives. I know I thought that. I paid on my student loans for 10 years, at minimum payments, and I deferred when I went to grad school. I paid double what the loans were. I walked out of school with $15,595 in student loans. That was my first car note amount as well. I double paid on my loans for college because I figured in my head, because I had heard, everybody told me, you know, you don't pay your student loans off, you pay the minimum forever. Those are gonna die with you. And then I got new information and I figured out, no, I don't want these loans to die with me. I don't want these credit cards hanging over my head. I don't want these, department store cards hanging over my head. I can't leave a legacy with all that stuff. I don't wanna keep working to pay off the stuff that I already bought. The stuff that I already spent stuff on. And I right-sided that thing and I got rid of all my debt. And let me tell you, the feeling that brings, it's unexplainable. The feeling to bring more money in and be able to fix things when they go wrong. Your car breaks is $2,000. When you're doing right with your money, it's like nothing. It's literally like, oh. You end up being proud that you can give the car dealer $2,000 because you know nobody's ever done that in your past. You need a new computer? You want to get the top of the line model? I know what it's like to get the base model on credit and then pay it off over 2 years. That's what I had to do when I came to BPAC. My mother had no money to give me to come here. I had to figure it all out on my own. And I knew what it was like to do that. Now I know what it's like to go out and buy a $2,500 computer from Apple that has the latest software, the latest inside brain, the biggest RAM, 32 gig. I don't even know all the stuff that it is. It does all this great stuff and it works super fast and just dropped $2,500 like it was nothing. That world really exists and you can really come from nothing and go into that world. But then it's more than just buying the things, right? It's about saving, it's about investing, it's about creating passive income. But you've got to know what your number is. And your number is going to change. And it's okay if your number changes. You want your number to change, right? If you ask me 2 years from now, I'm going to be a different person. By choice. I choose to continue to grow. You should be a different person too. And that number can evolve in time. And you can decide what you want and what you don't want. Maybe you don't want a massively big number. You want to have a small carbon footprint. That might be your legacy. Maybe you want to own land with a tiny house on it. There's nothing wrong with that. I love tiny houses. I love the show. I tell Scarlett she's going to be in a tiny house when she graduates. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not telling you what you should have and what you shouldn't have. But a legacy means that it's going to live after you. That whatever it is that you decide to do, that you're going to be passing something down to the generations that come after you. Maybe you want to pay for their college. Maybe you want to have money that is recycling in the community. Maybe you want to leave an endowment. Maybe you want to leave BPAC a bunch of money so that kids can get through college and not have to experience struggles that some of you may or may not have experienced. Maybe you want a book endowment because books are crazy expensive. And they don't cover the books. They cover the tuition and the room and board. And you gotta figure out how to cover those books. So, I pretty much talked about a lot of this already. I think I hit everything. So yeah, so at this point, I'll ask you, do you have any questions for me? Anything you wanna ask me?
How do you go about like thinking about what your number is? Like what things do you think about? What characteristics?
So depending where you're at in your life will determine what kind of number you wanna create, right? Because as I said, you're gonna change. Every few years, your mind changes. You evolve if you choose to continue to expand your mind. I'm a firm believer that first you should be reading until the day you die. Everybody should have a book on deck that they're reading. A book that expands your mind. Knowledge is power. Books are so plentiful, and the great thing about books is that the book is someone else's greatest thoughts being shared with you. They lived a life, they got all these great ideas, and they hand deliver it to you in a book. You get to save all the time that they took in order to come up with that idea, and you get to saturate it and figure out how to process it and live your life differently. So for you, you're just about to graduate. You need to figure out what are your expenses, what do you need to live, you need to know what's my base living level. And then where do I want to be? And how fast do I want to get there? And then thirdly, what do I want to leave behind? Now, it may take you time to get through each of those, and it's okay, it depends on where you're at in your life. But you should always be thinking about it, because if you don't think about it, 5 years turns to 10 years, turns to 15 years, turns to 20. And many of us can look at our parents and say, we can see how 20 turned to 30, turned to 40, turned to retirement. And they don't have retirement accounts. They don't have anything to pass on. They can't even pay to bury themselves. So if you don't think about it, you're going to repeat that. And you know that that's a reality, because why do blacks and Spanish only have 12 and 13,000 of wealth? You're getting educated more than any other race. So it's not the education. It's not the jobs, because you're holding better jobs than you've ever held before. You're opening up businesses at faster rates than anybody else. But you can open up as many businesses as you want. You can get as many degrees as you want. You can do that all you want. Unless you know how to manage those coins, they're going to go through your hands like liquid money, like they did everybody else that might have come before you. And so now you have to be the legacy to pass down the information on how to manage the money as best as possible, so you can teach that to the next generation. So that's one of my biggest things, is I want to make sure that, because I have more money than my family ever could have dreamed of, am I going to create a legacy where my children double my money or more? That's the legacy that I want. I want to know that everything that I did is going to be multiplied through my kids. And that they can start from scratch and create it, but they don't have to start from scratch, because I'm planning to pass it down. And to multiply, you need something to pass on. I know, and I used to have this mindset too. Black and brown people feel like, oh, I did it on my own, you have to figure out how to do it on your own too. That's flawed thinking, that's poor thinking. We think like that because we have nothing to pass down, and we cover it up. But if you want something to pass down, you have to start talking about it now. What do you want to pass down? What's your number going to be? Your number is your number. It can grow with your confidence. Confidence grows. You know, my number today is going to be different from 5 years from now. Because if I hit 20 million, not even if, when I hit 20 million, 100 million is not going to seem so bad. So it's a stair step. And as you get the experience with the money, you realize how much easier it is to make it as you go. How much more you can potentially make. You operate in a space where you can hear conversations in a room and you can see where the money is. Not the money in their pocket, the money in their words. Money is about solving problems. If you know how to solve problems, you can make a lot of money. If you know how to listen twice and speak once, you know how to make money. We're gonna eat dinner today. While you're eating dinner, listen to the conversations from a problem solver's perspective. And think about what is coming out of people's mouths that you can capitalize on, or create a solution to a problem that they're discussing, or create a service that they might need that can then generate you money. Money is being spoken about all the time without saying money. And that is how the wealthy stay wealthy. They stay solving problems. They stay hearing what's coming out of people's mouths. And then they keep finding solutions, integrating solutions, maximizing solutions. What's a creation that we can talk about that wasn't around before? Let's take the iPhone. $1 trillion company. I didn't think there was a problem with the phone, did you? The phone that was connected to the wall worked just fine with me. But he solved the problem people didn't even know they had. And now he gave me a computer in my hand. And now I can't live without that computer. Now I got a watch. Now my watch is connected to my computer, so now I stay connected all of the time. Communication, 24/7. I didn't know I needed this watch, but he did. Apparently he was listening to something in the atmosphere that said, people will buy this watch, and they will spend a lot of money on it. So what are you not listening to that may be your legacy seed? So there's businesses, I believe there's businesses in everyone. Most of us are just too scared to step out on faith to actually maximize and capitalize that seed that is within us. And usually it's because of fear and doubt, and because nobody else did it before us. I opened this business. I plan to be out of my job within the next 1 to 3 years. The sooner the better. My mother almost panicked when she heard that I said that. But that's okay, because she couldn't see as far as I could see, because she never made it as far as I made it. So whereas she thinks that I made it to the plateau, I'm sitting where she thinks the plateau is, and I see that it even goes higher. And I know I can take everything that I learned in every space that I've ever been to, and I can create solutions to problems and make more than a company is willing to pay me. That will replace me in a week if I die. And then I can take all that money and invest it, create impact, buy property, create income that makes me income, because that's the design. I want to have impact until the day I die, but I don't want to be having to make money until the day I die. I want my money to make its own money. So you think about that as you go through your career. Are you going to work until the day you die, or are you going to work until your money makes you money, and then you can do the things that you truly want to do? Like this is what I love to do, so it doesn't feel like work. So these are things to ask yourselves. To really ask yourselves. I don't think there really is ever an I made it. You made it to a level, and you could have made it farther. The level you make it to is up to you. You'd be surprised how many resources you have. We're all set?
We got 2 minutes.
Okay. You'd be surprised how many resources you have already connected to you that you don't even know are connected to you that you could tap into to maximize and amplify your opportunity. I'm speaking from experience. I'm sitting here because Elizabeth called me.
Thank you for being here.
Who knew she was gonna call me? All I did was open a business. And I happened to know her because we met in a parking lot at an event. And I told her, are you looking for a student worker? Because I have a sister that's coming to the college and she needs work study. And then they became best of friends. And then she came over for dinner. And then we chit-chatted about what I'm up to and how I'm starting a business. Then she called me to come speak. And now I'm here before you. Who knew that connection was going to lead to this? I sit on a lot of boards. I sit with some very important, special people. One thing that I have not capitalized on, and I understand it, and sometimes it's a blessing that I didn't, because I like genuine relationship. I sit with a lot of special, important people that carry these big titles. I don't even know half their names. And I've been sitting with them for 2 and 3 years. And now I'm beginning to build better relationships with them. Now they think we already have a relationship because we've been together for 3 years. They hear me talk at the board. They, see me speak for the company. But now it's different. Now when you're operating with money, you see people differently. You see opportunity differently. You see your next level differently. And I've been sitting in these spaces for 2 and 3 years. I just had to wake up and say I was opening up a company. And then all of a sudden I woke up and it woke me up in other ways. And this same thing can happen for each of you. It's just, are you gonna bust past the fear? Are you gonna link up with people that are confident and that can pour confidence in you? Or are you gonna stay crouched down, head down, working at the company, plan to stay working for people until the day you die, which is entirely okay. You can do that. A lot of people live a lot of good lives doing that. But I don't believe as many people that do it should be doing it. Because they're not leaving the legacy that they really wanna leave. Or that they're telling me that they wanna leave. Telling me they wanna get out of the rat race. Or to do that, you gotta get out of the rat race. You gotta do something different. So this is my session on Can I Have Your Number? I hope you enjoyed it. My business cards are on the table. Check me out on Facebook, on Instagram. I have a website. My email address is on there. My cell phone number is on there. And I do videos every Monday called Money Monday. And I post them on my Facebook and my social media, so make sure you follow. I give little tidbits for everybody.
You guys need to give this woman a I am just indebted to
Scarlett, you
Jasmine
can stop the video. Thank
for
you.
her time and her service, and this is nothing compared to everything that you've done. I think that we are so lucky that we have a 3-time alum. Did you hear that? 3-time alum that's come back, and we have another one here, Bianca Romero, who is an amazing superstar who we love also. And so, I think, personally, I got the message. It is so hard, right, to think about ourselves and put a number out there, and yet we give so much, right? And if you quantify your skills, your talents, and all of that, it will give you, it will be surprising to see what your net value is worth, right? So we need to work on that, and we want to thank you, but we want to just say thank you, Jasmine. I mean, I know you're super busy, and to be here today and to be able to contribute and to share with us as we celebrate Latinx History Month, we're just indebted. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And her business card.
Yes, I left them on there. Take 1, take 2. Got 500. So.
Okay. And right now, for those of you that want to just, have some refreshments, we're going to be transitioning, and this room is going to be the session for DACA. So our students from Eastern Connecticut are going to be sharing some personal stories about their journey here. And also in the next room, in 222, Hashima is talking about